Welcome back to Friar Talk, everyone. Today we're gonna be doing an episode, gonna be going over some hot takes, projections, stuff like that. Gonna be giving a few updates on spring training. And then I think we're gonna, maybe talk a little bit about the World Baseball Classic. The Padres guys have looked really good. Manny Machado, I already saw someone commented earlier, hit an absolute moonshot tonight. We saw Juan Soto hit one the other day. Xander Bogaerts looked pretty good for Netherlands, even though they did end up getting eliminated. But yeah, Padres are looking good right now at the World Baseball Classic. Spring training, I figure, Isaac, we were talking about Jay Groome a little bit last week. And I don't know if you saw the recent Dennis Lin article, but it does seem like he's a guy that is probably, it seems like, going to make the opening day roster. So really looking good on his front. And it's weird because we can start out with him just because I feel like that's the most thing up to date. But Jay Groome was the guy that we traded for Eric Hosmer salary dump. And so Eric Hosmer might have actually turned into something that's going to help the Padres a lot. And that's a depth starter, first guy off the bench starter, which we didn't really see it be that like impactful of a thing last year. But in 2021, that was what the Padres didn't have. So to have that this year, to have a little bit of insurance, I think it's huge. So what do you think about him almost kind of stepping into that opening day roster role?
I think it's going to be I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it just because, yeah, I mean, he is going to be probably our best depth option. And that's good. He's worked his way up and he's gone through some injury battles, I guess you could say, back in Boston. But he was a first round pick. He was a highly touted prospect. And he's an interesting prospect because we've never really gotten to see how talented he is on a Major League Baseball field. He looked good in AAA with in El Paso. So that's a good thing because everyone gets rocked in El Paso. Everyone's numbers balloon in El Paso as a pitcher. Happened to Ryan Weathers, happened to Mackenzie Gore, happens to a lot of the pitchers over there. And didn't happen to him. So that's a good thing. Obviously, he's going to be the first guy up, I believe, with Tehran having a recent outing that wasn't very good. I believe it was like 5 earned runs in around 3 innings. So it wasn't a very good outing for Tehran, but nothing but good things from Jay Groome, and I'm not expecting anything crazy. It's gonna be good to get anything we can get out of that Hosmer deal. Unfortunately, we do have to eat all his money, but anything we can get out of that deal is gonna be good. So if it's a depth starter and he can give us a few starts and then end up giving us 60, 70 innings throughout the year, I'll be a very happy camper.
Yeah, and I agree with that too. And in the article, it kind of talked about basically that he's just looked good. His velocity is up a couple miles an hour, and basically that they just feel confident with him there. So really cool on that end that Hosmer is actually turning into something. That's because it's interesting. Like when you just do a salary dump like that, you're not really gaining anything out of it besides getting Jay Groome. Like that's the only thing you're really getting because you're gonna have to pay the salary either way. They didn't really save any money by moving Hosmer, I don't think, or maybe it was like very small amount. But yeah, so overall, I mean, I feel like that's kind of a win in itself if he can give you, what do you say, 60 innings. That's pretty good for a first year, and also to have a little bit of youth in the rotation, just because, and even the bullpen for that kind of part too, if he ended up being in a bullpen role later on in the year. But I think it's good because the Padres, we're going to see this in a couple years, but the Padres are going to have to reload a lot when it comes to the rotation. And I think this is maybe a good start if he could be like a 4 or 5 like that. That's all you're really asking for a lot of these guys. I feel like the Padres have shown that they'll go out and spend money to get another starter if they're going to need to. I know they haven't really signed starters to that much, but you look at the Yu Darvish deal, you look at the Joe Musgrove deal, and you kind of get the idea that, yeah, they're willing to still pay a pretty penny for, high-end starters. So I do think that can happen, but getting depth is huge. So with that said, we were talking about, this is going to be an episode about some hot takes for the Padres. We don't really give much of that, but I feel like, I don't know, I feel like this will be fun just because we're at the point of the season where season's 2 weeks away. There's nothing going on. Last year, this roster was still being built out. There was still a lot of rumors going around. Padres didn't really fill out the roster until the day before the season started. I don't see them doing really anything at this point. Isaac, do you think they're really going to do anything before the season starts right now? I feel like it's pretty much like their roster is ready to go.
Roster set, I think. Unless, I mean, There's only really one intriguing guy that's left on the market, and he was already a Padre. It's Jerickson Profar, but I don't see him becoming a Padre again.
Yeah, and it doesn't really. I don't know. It seemed like that would have happened already.
Yeah,
Right? Like it
for
definitely would have. I
sure.
feel like. So yeah, I don't really think anything's gonna change, which is funny because that's just way different than last year. And last year we were so just harping over and over, like, dude, this roster doesn't look very good. You know, this is like a barely going to be a playoff team, like barely going to be like projected wild card team if this is all it is. And then they eventually make some huge moves, stuff like that, and they actually do make some moves right before the season starts too. But I don't really think that's happening. So, with that said, and you guys send as many hot takes as you guys have for this team, but I can start it out. Mine is going to be Blake Snell is going to have the second best year of his career, and he's going to be top 3 in Cy Young. And I like this one because if there's any chance of it happening, we're going to know about a month into the season. Because as we've seen every single year, Blake Snell is awful at the beginning of the season. And if he starts out hot and he can kind of do what he's done in the second half, because I think his ERA is over a 4 or over a 4.5 in the pre All-Star breaks part of the season, and then post All-Star break, he's like career 2.5 guy, like just ridiculous. So if he starts out hot, he might be able to just go on a crazy season in a contract year. I really think that could happen. I know it's a lot just from what we've seen of him lately, and you look back on his numbers. His his best season was 2018 when he won Cy Young, right? 180 innings, 1.89 ERA, just ridiculous year. Since then, the last couple years in San Diego, 4.2 ERA. Last year he was good. I mean, he had a 3.3 ERA, but he didn't even have 130 innings either of those years. Kind of struggling to ramp up and stuff like this. I think a contract year kind of gives him all the motivation and more to have another season like he did in 2018. So this would be one of the best things that could happen for the Padres too. Because if you have a true Blake Snell like ace cat like crazy season like that, you're feeling good playoff time matching up against any of the top tier arms.
Yeah. I was gonna go with the Trent Grisham one. I think there's a little bit of framework or a little bit of an argument to say Trent Grisham could be an all-star this year with the NL not really, and I don't know if the NL still goes with, you pick the outfielder by the position or you just pick the outfielder in general. Because if you're just picking the outfielder in general, he has no shot. But I'm actually gonna go with a different one. I'm gonna go with Corbin Burns will be a Padre by the trade deadline. And that seems that you may not think that's a hot take. I don't know if everyone thinks that's a hot take. But the Brewers, yes, they don't have a good lineup, but they still have a foundation to still be somewhat of a good team, to still be hanging in there. However, Corbin Burns has been disgruntled. He's not happy in Milwaukee right now because of the whole, they weren't willing to pay him, what was it, 750K, something like that, and essentially blaming him for not making the playoffs. And he had a conversation with Josh Hader about it. And Josh Hader basically told him, look, this is what they do when it comes to these arbitration cases. They're going to throw you under the bus and they're going to do whatever they can to save money. Now, why would a former Cy Young winner, a top 5 pitcher in baseball, top 10, whatever it is, be okay with that, be happy with that? And the Brewers are clearly trying to save money. The Brewers are not really in a position where I think they're going to be very much of a contender. Even if they do make the playoffs, they're not contending. Maybe they'll win a wild card game or wild card series just because of their the top end of their rotation, but I don't think they're good enough to even make the playoffs. I think they'll maybe be fighting towards the end, kind of like last year. It was between them and the Phillies. But I mean, they seem like a team that's ready to maybe start their rebuild. And the only way to start doing that is by trading a guy that it doesn't seem like you want to bring back and trading him to a contender that has what you may need, whether that's Jackson Merrill or whatever other prospects they may want. I can't imagine it take too much. Now, the problem, wait, can you guys still see me? Yeah. Okay, cool. My computer weirded out. But the problem with that is, and maybe this isn't so much of an issue because the Dodgers have so much pitching. I'm hoping that they're not going to be in on a pitcher at the time. However, if they're in need of pitching, it's a guarantee they will outbid us because of their farm system. They have one of the top farm systems in all of baseball, and they can trade from it and rebuild it like that because they're so amazing at developing. But let's say they're not in the running for a pitcher at the trade deadline. You know that the Padres will go in and swoop Corbin Burns. And I think Jackson Merrill will do it. I think even some lower level prospects will do it. You look at what the Padres gave up for Josh Hader, which was 1.5 years of control of Josh Hader. It was Dinelson Lamet, who was waived immediately. It was Esteury Ruiz, who's not with them anymore. And then Robert Gasser, who's still with them. So you gave up maybe one more guy, I believe. Oh, and Taylor Rogers, who's also not with them anymore. Taylor Rogers coming off, the worst performances of his career. Dinelson Lamet was cooked. Esteury Ruiz was not going to be a valuable piece for the Padres. And Robert Gasser was the number 8 prospect. So if you ask me, Corbin Burns, you're getting half a year of control. And I feel like maybe people will try and compare this trade to, look at the Max Scherzer trade. The Max Scherzer trade is a little different because that included 2 superstars. This is going to include 1 half a year of control. Now, I'll try finding a similar deal to it, but the only one I could think of right now is Jackson Merrill and another prospect, or 2 top 10 prospects type thing. But yeah, I do think that Corbin Burns will be a Padre come the trade deadline.
And do you think it's just like half year kind of rental thing?
Yeah, I think this is it. I think they're going all in.
It makes sense, right?
Yeah, it makes so much sense because look, you're not. Let's say you win a World Series with Juan Soto. Remember, you're not guaranteed to have Juan Soto for beyond 2024. You got to do everything you can to win a World Series while you have him. It's like I said, it's not a guarantee. So I feel like if you're gonna put all your marbles into this, the time is now to be able to say, look, yeah, that's true. Also, we don't have Juan Soto for that long. Let's take advantage of having 4 superstars in our lineup, and let's add an ace. Let's say you go toe to toe with the Braves, right? You got to face Max Fried first. Who else would you want on the bump? You want Corbin Burns facing Max Fried. You want Corbin Burns. And this isn't a diss on like you Darvish or Blake Snell or anything. But Corbin Burns is better than all those guys. So, and he gives you a much better chance to win in a series like last year where the Padres struggled to beat the Phillies because they had to throw Mike Clevenger. They had to throw Sean Manaea in the same game. So, the more pitching, the better.
So, with that said, what happens if both of our hot takes become true? If you have Corbin Burns and you have ace, Cy Young caliber Blake Snell, that's a championship, right? That's a championship.
Yeah, exactly, a championship. And you're gonna get good things out of Joe Musgrove. You're gonna get good things out of you Darvish. So yeah, man, a championship. And that's the thing is that yeah, you might be gutting the farm a little bit, but this is the right player to gut the farm for. Well, not the whole farm, obviously. You're not going to give it all up. He's not. I really don't think he's going to cost that much. If I'm being completely honest.
Real quick, if I'm being honest, if you even look last year at the playoffs, what do you feel like was the reason that the Padres didn't make it to the World Series? 4th starter. Not having a 4th starter.
Yeah, 4th starter.
If you have him last year, they make the World Series, right?
Yeah. I think
the team looks a lot better with Corbin Burns, with going into the playoffs with Corbin Burns instead of Mike Clevenger or Sean Manaea. That's completely different. You know what I mean? So you're gonna be looked at as a much better team, a much more top heavy team.
Yeah.
I like it, dude. I really think there's a chance. And the one thing is, I think it's gonna take a lot. I think it'll probably be Jackson Merrill, which is rich to give up for half a year of a guy.
It's a hefty price.
But it's also Corbin Burns.
Yeah, but you're right. Of course, you're right. It's a hefty price. But then you think about it, it's like, all right, Xander's going to be here for 11 years. Manny's going to be here for 11 years. Ha-Seong Kim is going to be here for at least another 1 or 2 after this. Jake for another 1 or 2 after this. So it's like, I don't want to completely rule out Jackson Merrill as he can't, because of course he can be a valuable piece for the Padres, valuable player. But it's too it's not worth it. It's not worth it to keep him if you can get an ace, a true ace. Like
Yeah,
I consider Darvish an ace, but where would you rank him among aces in the MLB?
he's up there.
He's
He's
up there,
definitely
yeah.
a top 5 pitcher in the league, right?
Darvish or Burns?
No, Burns.
Oh, Burns, yeah. Burns is, I mean, that's top 5 aces in all of baseball,
Yeah.
I mean, for sure.
What's Darvish like? Top 15?
Yeah, the top 15. Yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
you could get in top 10 depending on like if you really like guys that can locate and have like really good pitch mix, opposed to having
Yeah,
like overpowering stuff. Kind of
exactly. Yeah. Mhm.
like it kind of depends what you're looking at there, but I think so too. I think Musgrove is like similar. Snell's a little bit lower because he's so inconsistent.
Yeah, very.
But then Snell's weird, bro, because like on one day Snell could be like that's the thing with him. That's why I like mine because it's like it could happen.
No, of
We
course. Yeah.
we
Of
could have
course.
Blake Snell go just ballistic, but also
And
we could get normal Blake Snell where it's like so up and down the course of the season.
yeah, and that has to change. I mean, even Bob Melvin talked about it recently. Like he knows that has to change. If he's gonna get a bag, nobody's gonna pay. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about your numbers in the end. But a lot of bias comes from those first few months of the season. I feel like it's so much harder to change that, um, unless you're Bryce Harper, who wasn't an All-Star and then won an MVP. But for Blake Snell, it's like, oh man, like his ERA is this, but in the past 5 games in August, he's been the best pitcher in all of baseball. But nobody knows that because his ERA is what it is.
Yeah, that's the thing, and it's harder to make like the climb. I feel
Yeah.
like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. If you throw one bad start, your ERA goes to shit. But if you
Yeah.
make like 3 in a row, it's like, dude, why hasn't my ERA gotten much better?
And you see, like, oh yeah, Snell, and Snell doesn't do it in like a low key way. Like Snell's getting like blown up, like on the front page, like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
Snell allowed 8 runs in 2 innings, like to start the year. Like that's
Yeah,
the way that it starts. So that's why I feel like it makes it tough.
for sure.
Um, but yeah, so I don't know. I wonder that one. Also, I see a couple over here. I like the trade idea though. I think it's good.
Dang.
Not a hot take, but Groome should start over Lugo. This could honestly happen if Jay Groome came up and looked really good, and they were like, okay, we want Lugo in the bullpen because Lugo hasn't been able to really convert into a starter that successfully yet. Like he's
Mhm.
more of he could be more of a swing starter, and that would be better. And also depends on how much the Padres are going to use a 6-man rotation because it seems like he's the sixth guy right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Completely agree. I mean, he went and he did a start recently in spring training and he went 3 innings. He didn't allow a run, but in those 3 innings, he allowed 7 hits. That's a lot for 3 innings. And if you're gonna allow 7 hits, most of the time that's turning into 3, 4 runs, I believe. Um, so I don't feel and it's concerning that we haven't really heard much on Lugo this spring training. Like, oh, he looks good. Apparently, his curveball looks filthy, but it's concerning that we haven't heard like, oh, he's going to be easily able to convert into this starter role or anything like that. Um, I don't know. He does have a good pitch mix. He worked really well out of the bullpen in New York, and I honestly think that's going to be his best role. Long reliever bullpen, similar to Nick Martinez last year. Um, Jay Groome can be that also. Nabil Chrismat can be that also. It's good to have all these kind of guys that can do the same thing. Um,
and hopefully this offense is putting up runs too, so these guys can
yeah,
come in and your back end pin is always fresh for important games, like where it's not like, oh yeah, these guys are like worn out at the end of the season.
yeah,
Because Nabil pitching 80 innings, Lugo pitching 80 innings, like Groom pitching 80 innings. That's insane if that can happen.
yeah,
Now
yeah, yeah,
you also need your season to be playing out pretty well where you're ahead a lot.
yeah,
But that could happen this year. It's like the
yeah,
first time we've ever said that as Padre fans.
yeah, and that's why, like, a lot of people who are concerned about, oh, the Padres rotation, stuff like that. It's like, well, we have the offense that's going to be capable of, you know, matching or
Yeah.
You guys know what I'm trying to say. Um, but yeah, it's a good enough lineup that they'll cover for that rotation, and it's going to be exciting to see how the lineup produces with the guys at the top. For anyone who you talked about the WBC earlier, Manny would have like 5, 6 home runs already if they were playing in Petco because he was hitting the crap out of the ball. He was hitting him to like the warning track in Miami. Um, Juan Soto is also having a very good WBC.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's gonna be fun to see how this pitching rotation kind of pans out because to me it's a little scary because of course you got Darvish, he's gonna be fine. You got Joe Musgrove, who's gonna be fine. Blake Snell, we know he's gonna be fine in late July, August, and September, and October. But Michael Waka, I feel he signed very late in the offseason, and he kind of had. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but he didn't have very good numbers prior to last year. I think I'm not entirely sure.
Not for
Uh,
a while. I'll pull him up right now.
yeah, thank you. And Nick Martinez, yeah, he's been in a starter role before, but last year in a starter role, he looked honestly, he looked decent. I wouldn't say he looked great. He looked decent because there were some outings where he got roughed up. Like the Braves outing, I think on Saturday, I think it was a Saturday or a Sunday. Oh, the poor dude was getting roughed up. So he's gonna have those kind of course, out of a 5, that's okay.
Hey, that happened in the World Baseball Classic too.
Yeah, he got roughed up. Yeah, that's true. Um, and then your 6, Seth Lugo. Like, it's a lot different than last year where you had, Darvish, Musgrove, Snell, Mackenzie Gore was fantastic for his first few outings. Mike Clevenger was hurt, but he was good for a short amount of time. Sean Manaea was good throughout until like June. Like, it's not a very deep of a rotation, or at least as deep in terms of the names that you have. Like last year, all those guys, Clevenger was an ace. Manaea was, a top 2 pitcher in his staff the year prior.
Yeah.
Um, Joe Musgrove has always been, a top guy. Snell, Darvish, these are all top names, and we were loaded with them. Mackenzie Gore had prospect pedigree. This year, it's not the same.
Yeah. It's a little different. I feel like there's more guys MLB ready, but not like, I don't know, a little bit odd.
For sure, they're not like set in stone. They're not established in a starter role.
Yeah. But I feel like they have like overall like more true depth, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
no, for sure, for sure. I mean, injuries is kind of the Morahone injury kind of hurt it a little bit, but it's
Yeah,
not.
that's scary.
It's not drastic. It's not drastic. I mean, he's getting an MRI tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll know more.
I just whenever I hear, oh, this got a forearm or an elbow, I just am like, okay.
Yeah,
And
MRI and elbow.
For
Mhm,
Morahone too, it's like,
uh-huh.
yeah,
Yeah, MRI and elbow and Morahone is a really, very, really, really scary
yeah.
trio.
Also got this one. This is two, but Lizzie said Grisham gets traded at the deadline, and then Irie said after if Trent leaves, that means we got Reynolds. Reynolds is more realistic than Otani, club friendly at 6.7 million a year, and he wants to get traded too. Like he's like just done with the Pirates offers
Yeah.
basically.
hmm
He's been linked to the Padres a lot, never really had a bit get done.
hmm
I could see it happening still. I know that we like have this has been brought up many times on Fire Talk before. I still could see it happening because if Grisham is really bad, they might try to upgrade at the deadline.
Yeah.
Now, ideally, this doesn't happen because Grisham plays well. That's what you want to see, but it could happen.
Or, Grisham plays well and Brian Reynolds is playing better, but Grisham has value and he's going to be cheaper than Brian Reynolds, and it all just pans out. Um,
Oh, that's a good idea.
yeah, exactly. And I don't think Trent Grisham, it kind of all depends. Like, if Trent Grisham were to get traded, you need another outfielder. Meaning you either got to sign Jurickson Profar so that way he can play left and Fernando can slide to center, or you got to figure something else out. But I don't, unless that happens, I don't really see a scenario where Trent Grisham is gone. Because I don't think the Padres' main priority will be offense at the deadline. I think it's going to be pitching, whether it's bullpen help. You could
Yeah,
always use some bullpen help, but starting pitchers is going to be important also. So I
I
think
think
that's
so
going to be
too.
their main focus. And if it's Corbin Burns, like I said, I highly doubt they're going to take Trent Grisham back. But we'll see how it all plays out with Trent.
I think this is a funny sequence right here. Does Salas get called up in September?
Can you
They
imagine
can't legally call Salas up until he's 18.
that?
September of 2025, sure. Yeah, Salas is still a while away. Um, that's
That's
hilarious.
insane.
That
That's insane.
my hot take. This is Kyle. My hot take is Pelé doesn't do much at the trade deadline because he believes in Merrill and Salas so much. Could be the case,
That's a good one.
but
Yeah.
I think if they can get Salas, I'm sorry, if they can get a trade for it's Jackson Merrill for Corbin Burns, I think they're gonna do it. I would
Yeah.
be surprised if they don't.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, like, I have faith in Jackson Merrill too, of course. I think he's a great player. I think he's growing into what I think he will become a fan favorite. Um, but see, like, that's the thing. Like, I'm
I get
starting to,
it.
I get it. Yeah, of course, I get it. But for me, I'm starting to be more like the prospects just don't pan out for the Padres. Like, they're just not. I don't know. They came out with a recent article that was like, let's see how the number one farm system have ended up panning out. And I didn't get to read it. I want to read it. But this is, yeah, I mean, I completely agree with it, Justin. You guarantee you have Juan Soto for at least the next 2 years. You got to win a World Series. You got to be all in. And if it takes what I think is an expendable Jackson Merrill. What I think is an expendable Jackson Merrill, because you already have middle infielders, you got, you have depth, whatever it is. There's only a guy or two that I'm willing to give him for, and it's going to be Corbin Burns and maybe another pitcher if one becomes available.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. And also, I know we talked about Corbin Burns a lot, but we're probably going to talk about Corbin Burns a lot, to be honest. Infamous also said we can't keep giving out 12-year contracts for 300 mil. Eventually, we'll need our young studs to fill in. See, this is Chase's thing always. Chase is always like, we got to get some use. We got to do that. And I think, yes, you do, but I also think paying Corbin Burns is a good idea.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to pay someone, Corbin Burns is a good guy to pay. It's better to pay super, super elite players like that. And I think we also have to remember he might not sign some super long-term deal like that. A lot of pitchers don't do that. He's already 28 years old. Like, he might get a shorter deal and make a lot of money, but it might be a shorter-term deal. And also, we have to replace Blake Snell. What does Blake Snell make right now? Like almost 20, I want to say. Like, he makes decent money, 15, 20, something like that. So like that money's getting freed up. There's a lot of money getting freed up too. The Padres actually are going to have money to spend next offseason.
A lot.
So if you go and you trade for Corbin Burns with the idea of like, hey, like we can get this guy, like there's a good chance we can keep him, and then you go after Ohtani, and then Corbin Burns is like, oh, like you're like consolation prize for not getting Ohtani. That's a pretty insane consolation prize. So I think that there's a chance he could stay too. This is a fantastic one. Padres trade for Myers after he starts out.
That's a good one. That's a really good hot take. We'll remember that one. Yeah, shoot. There's some nice region pitchers that are pitching in the TVs. Oh, I saw that contract that went out to the guy. Yeah, congratulations to that guy. That's sick. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think prospects are a little too hit and miss for me to really like be all in on a guy. But I'm excited to see how it all pans out with Corbin Burns. And for the record, Dennis Lynn already said, the Padres can't afford another big contract next year. So it's not completely. He did. Like, it's not completely out of the realm. They're freeing up so much money next year. It's pretty unbelievable. And Manny taking most of his money as a bonus for the first few years helped out a lot. So they have the capability of adding another guy. It's just a matter of do they want to do it. And I think the Padres, and AJ Preller has talked about it already. He was on Ben and Woods talking about it. Pretty much said, like, look, we know that we're going to have to mix youth with these contracts. We're working on it. I mean, you see them working on it. Dylan Lesko, Ethan Salas, DeVries is supposed to be coming over here. They're looking at guys from Korea and Japan and all that. So they're doing their work, and the farm system's going to be good again soon.
Yeah. Yeah, I also see a lot of people talking about Salas here. I don't think Salas is that they're going to trade. I don't think ever seen a Padres prospect get signed and get as much hype as Ethan Salas has got. Like, seriously.
Yeah,
Have
no,
you?
no, never. Salas
Like,
is safe. Let's go safe. They're all everyone except for Miracle.
like for Salas, like I've seen like Fernando got more hyped as a prospect, but not like when they acquired
Not at
Fernando.
15, yeah. Uh-huh.
That like I've never seen this before. It's pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I see a lot of people talking about him. We need to add some farm talent. I think they actually are doing a pretty decent job at adding farm talent. They got what is his name, DeVries,
DeVries, yeah, verbal commitment.
and that's like the same. It's funny because he's like 15 years old. And he has like a bunch of Padres stuff on his
Yeah.
Instagram.
Yeah, and he's supposed to be like the better version of Wander Franco for anyone who doesn't know. So that's a big one. That's a big one for AJ to already get. I mean, we gutted the farm system 2 years in a row, and we're already building it back up with guys like Salas, DeVries, Zavala.
They're just
Merrill.
young.
Yeah, they're just young. Lesko. Yeah, it's just a bunch of young guys.
Yeah. Also, tomorrow we are having Sam Dykstra. He's the minor league baseball writer. He's like the person that did like the top 30 prospects for MLB.com. He's actually coming on the show tomorrow. So we're doing another stream tomorrow at 5:30. We started to get into that a little bit. So I don't know. I want to see. I'm excited to see what he has to say too about like Solace, just because like all of the hype. We could talk to him about DeVries to see if he knows much about him because I don't really know anything about that dude. And I'm assuming if he's locked in, I mean, he's like one of the MLB's main guys. So that'd be cool to hear a little bit on what he thinks about those two guys, and also just like the Padres farm in general, because it's ranked like pretty low. But if you look at like the high end talent, there's still like a good amount of guys that have high end talent. So it's kind of like one of those things where in 2 years it's gonna be way back up there. At least we feel like that. Especially with the way that they're able to sign such good international players and such good international prospects that, I mean, maybe in a lot of times don't work out for the actual Padres team, but they're highly touted prospects and they get traded for good players, which also works. I mean, it is working right now. So hopefully, I mean, you get some real contributors on the actual squad, but yeah.
Yeah, Prella's doing a great job right now. I'm actually like, I'm not surprised, I guess. This is his specialty, I guess you could say, scouting and everything. But I mean, he's doing a good job. He's doing a good job.
My take, we need lefty starting pitchers, trade for Chris Sale.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a pretty good one.
He's got to stay healthy. That's the thing.
Yeah, that is true. He does have to stay healthy. That's a good one, actually. You know, Matt, we might have to look into some lefty guys that might become available. Yeah, because he's right. He's right. You know, Jason's right. We might need another lefty guy, but at the end of the day, I don't really care what arm they throw with. If it's Corbin Burns, I mean.
Yeah, let's see. I'm trying to see what else we got here. I don't got too much.
Nah, not too much Padres talk, man. It's pretty dead. It's pretty dead, and I think that's a good thing. That means no one's getting hurt. No one's doing super shit.
Musgrove. We gave a little update on Musgrove. I don't know if anyone saw, but it seems like he's not gonna be ready to start opening day. But like he's progressing fine. He threw the other day. Like, it seems pretty non-serious. Just like it caused him to miss a couple starts, which sucks to start the season. Yeah. But it's also like it's better that happened in spring than during the season because else he would have missed like a month or so, and that would have been a pretty big hit. So honestly, in a way, it's almost like lucky that happened during spring.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw, but it depends on how far Japan goes. Blake Snell might start opening day.
Oh, really? Just because they don't want to have him on too little rest?
Yeah,
makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that looks good. What else we got? There's just not much going on, dude.
Yeah, there's just not a lot of.
I'm trying to look through the chat right now and find anything. If anyone's seen, if you have been following World Baseball Classic, tomorrow USA has a chance to clinch. Mexico has a chance to clinch. Mexico killed the US.
Dude, they destroyed them.
Killed them. Yeah. 11-5. It was 11-2 in the 8th inning. And also tomorrow, Dominican Republic plays Venezuela. Or not Venezuela, Puerto Rico. Mm-hmm. Venezuela's already in, and that game's basically whoever wins makes it.
Yep.
So that's a really, and Puerto Rico's good too. They got a good squad as well. So Dominican Republic has to, if they got knocked out in the first round, that they are the best roster in the whole thing, and they have a chance to get knocked out tomorrow.
Yeah.
But a couple upsets, I feel like that's cool. Netherlands got eliminated. Bogarts was playing well though.
He was
had a home run.
281. I forgot what the rest of his numbers are, but he hit like 281, 271, something like that.
Netherlands just has like no pitching. That's the problem.
Yeah.
They have a couple bats, but
Netherlands getting knocked out so early did Jerkson Profar no favors.
No, he needs to like have like a little bit of a clinic.
Yeah, I know just as much about him after the WBC as I knew about him before.
He had a cool celebration on his home run, as Jerkson Profar does. Oh yeah, I see people saying this. Oh, here we go. This is a hot take that I love. Tatis will stay healthy all season. Out of any of them, that's the one I would hope the most.
If he stays healthy all season until obviously after he comes back, if he stays healthy all season, he legit might win the MVP.
He could.
Yeah,
it's enough games.
Yeah, it is.
I think it would be the MLB voting is too fucked up to have.
They're gonna be so biased against him.
Yeah, I don't think he'll win. Like he'll have to like really, really win. Like unanimously almost.
Like 1065 OPS, like 40 home runs.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then people were saying 3 hits in the last 2 games, so he's come back. And that's the thing. Like people were starting to panic. I was like, guys, like every report is like Fernando looks the exact same.
I know. My dad sent a text and he said something like, Fernando has 0 hits, and I was like, dude, it's 10 at bats.
Yeah. When they come back, will they jump back in the spring games? Probably not. Maybe like 1.
Xander is supposed to tomorrow.
Oh, Xander will. It depends when they get eliminated, I guess.
Yeah, so for a pitcher, I can't imagine they will.
Yeah. South Korea should have made it. I feel like. Australia made it. They have like no one like.
Dude, I don't know who's on the team. I really don't know who's on that team.
Dude, a lot of them aren't even in leagues.
Yeah, I know.
It's hilarious.
That's so sick.
I mean, they hit a bunch of nukes.
Yeah, that's so fun. That's so cool.
Yeah. I did not know this. USA was with a run being
against Mexico. Yeah, they got destroyed, bro.
What's his name that hit the home runs?
Rosarena.
No, not Rosarena. Meneses.
Oh, Meneses. Yeah, Joey Meneses.
Yeah, he's
literally the wildest story ever.
So he's on the Nationals. He just came up last year, right?
Yeah, and he's like 31 already.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's like 30, 31.
Oh, what the heck? Yeah, dude, he was going off. I mean, his second home run was super hype.
That's Joey Judge.
So what's his story?
Beats me. I don't know. A 30-year-old that came up and had a pretty good year. I mean, let me look at his numbers from last year.
I looked it up. He had like 320 last year. And like 200 at bats, but still 200 at bats.
200 at bats, 13 home runs. I mean, the 29-year-old that came up, he's 30 now. Balled out, came up and beat maybe the best team in the WBC.
Yeah, I mean, I guess USA's pitching isn't that crazy, but it's still like it's more about on the stage.
Yeah, I mean, no one thought Mexico was going to beat them.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It is pretty crazy. That was pretty sick. MVP top 3 will be Soto, Tatis, Manny. There we go.
I could see that. That's crazy. That's actually super realistic.
They all are just going crazy. All right, what else we got? Wonder where Profar goes. Arson Judge. Dude, the Arson Judge stuff was still so funny.
Oh man, yeah. I was talking with my friends today about the Aaron Rodgers stuff, and I said Arson Rodgers after he probably got traded to the Jets, traded to the Jets, and it's just so funny. Aaron's, man, what's up with these Aarons?
Dude, true. All right, final thing. You want to do our AL West predictions? Looking into this, these rosters. All right, let me pull these up. Because I know the Angels made a couple moves. We know who the top division is for sure.
The top team is. I'm gonna go straight off the top of my head. I'm gonna go with the Astros first, top two, top three. I mean, probably the best team in baseball. An already super strong lineup. Added Jose Abreu. That's a really good lineup. Very good pitching staff, even with losing Verlander. Easy first place. Second place, I'm gonna go with the Mariners. Yeah, I mean, I like the Mariners, man. They're gonna be right there with the Padres. They'll probably be like the AL version of America's team, while the Padres are like the NL version. People are probably starting to get annoyed with the Padres, but I consider them, like that team that, they've sucked for so long and now's the time for them. That's so cool. And I want them to beat the Dodgers. Maybe for the Mariners, it's in the AL. Oh man, I want them to beat the Astros. Like this is going to be that version of the team. And I think the Mariners are good. They got Star and Julio Rodriguez. They got a good lineup. Ty France. I think they're a very well-rounded team. Angels in third, though I do think the Angels will get that sixth spot in the playoffs. Added some players to their pitching staff, added to their lineup with Brandon Drury and Hunter Renfroe, and I think that's going to be a pretty solid team. I mean, it's tough because it's the Angels. That is the only reason it's tough. And it's going to be super dependent on, well, hey, how's Anthony Rendon going to do? Is he going to be like the injury prone player that he was last year? Is he going to be one of the worst contracts in baseball? Or is he going to be an actual valuable player? Because if he's a valuable player, that's going to be huge for them. And I think that'll guarantee them a playoff spot if they're able to get valuable production out of guys like, or at least superstar production out of Trout and Ohtani, and get good production out of Rendon. And you're going to get good production out of Renfroe. You're going to get good production out of I forgot their first baseman, Jared Walsh, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a well-rounded lineup and a decent pitching staff, and I could see them scratching their way into that wild card spot. Let me see, and then I'll go. Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be the exact same thing as last year. Rangers, A's. Rangers obviously added DeGrom, added two guys last year, Seager and Simeon. I mean, and the A's just suck.
Yeah, the A's. I'm not even going to talk about the A's. The A's are not worth talking about. But I do think that this is a really good year for the AL West, because the Astros are defending champs, best team in the league. I feel like that's pretty consensus among everyone, like ranking baseball teams. Number two, I'm going to change it up. I know you have Seattle at 2. I'm going to go with the Angels at 2, because I feel like they have got so screwed over in terms of health, and that gets kind of swept under the rug. Like, if they were healthy, it would be a lot different. If Mike Trout's just healthy 1 year, like, it's going to be a lot different. And even if he misses some games and they're able to get something out of a lot of these other guys, these complementary pieces. Do you remember last year where it was like the most WAR in the league, and it was like Trout and Ohtani were like way up there, right? And they showed and I think it was Trout, Ohtani, and was it Ward? I think it was Ward. Was it Ward?
Taylor Ward was having a good start for the season.
Yeah. And it was them. And then they showed the rest of the team, and they had done nothing, literally nothing. And so it was so top heavy. And you have a couple like minor additions, Renfroe and Drury. It was almost like that was kind of like the boost that the Padres got at the end of the year to their lineup, like when their lineup started improving, because they just didn't have this complete lineup. And they haven't had that, even though they have 2 superstars hitting up top. They had Tyler Anderson. I don't think their pitching staff is that great. I think it's okay. But I think that you just have the superstar power. And I think we have to we got to appreciate Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani a little bit more. And I think this is the year where it's going to be like, finally this team was able to make the playoffs and kind of get over the hump. And then they might lose Ohtani after that. So, but then next, Mariners. The Mariners could easily finish over the Angels. I know I just gave a whole Angels spiel, but they easily could. Julio Rodriguez, Ty France, Teoscar Hernandez. They got a good group of guys. They added Luis Castillo was it last year, the year before? I don't know, kind of recently. Their pitching rotation's pretty good. Logan Gill, Kirby, Marco Gonzalez, that's their projections right there. And this is also a team that's been pretty good the last couple of years. So I think that they're going to make the playoffs as well, most likely. But the AL is kind of deep, so it's hard to tell. It's like There's a bunch of teams that might make the playoffs. And then the final team, the Rangers, I think they're in fourth place here, but they are making strides to getting better.
Yeah.
And I still think they could flirt with a wild card spot because you're not playing in the division that much anymore. And there are just so many teams that are kind of lumped together in this, like, they're pretty good kind of group. So you never know, but I do think they're probably fourth going into it.
I mean, you brought up a really good point. Now that every team's going to have to play every team, I think, it's really going to probably expose finally the Cardinals. Finally, please. Like, I hate, I don't want to be that guy, but if Manny were to play in the NL Central, he'd probably have like an 1100 OPS and 40 home runs. And you know who I'm comparing him to. Nolan Arenado. But both of the Central divisions, I think, with the Cardinals, Brewers, and everything, and then you go to the other side, it's the White Sox, Twins, and I actually think the Guardians are a pretty damn good team. So I don't think they'll struggle, but it's going to be exciting to see how these teams, play against other top competition.
I definitely think so too, but I see some other comments here. We'll go through the last couple things. Any other questions you guys got? Because that's pretty much it for AL West. Those are our division predictions, by the way. I think we'll post a graphic, probably show it next time we do a stream, maybe next week, on just like our projections for playoffs and stuff. Probably won't really talk about it too much just because we went through it quite a bit.
Yeah.
Bali went bankrupt today. So what does that mean? What does that mean for watching Padre games?
MLB is going to stream them for free for now.
So everyone just gets to watch free games for a while?
Yeah. I don't know if you need a cable TV provider or what it is, but yeah, you're going to be able to watch the games for free. Ballot just wasn't able to pay enough. I guess the Padres weren't profitable enough for them to be able to justify paying for the Padres. I don't know how, but yeah, for now you're gonna be able to stream them on MLB app, or I don't know what it is, but it's gonna be cool to kind of take advantage of that because I mean, shoot, you have to go through hurdles to be able to watch the Padres, and I think it's good that we'll be able to watch them.
Yeah. No, that's probably. I mean, I think I have MLB TV. I want to say.
Yeah,
you'll be able to watch them.
Anyway.
Yeah, because I'm not blacked out on them.
Yeah, and there's a few other teams that you're going to be able to stream for free also.
Yeah, it's weird that the Padres are one of them, I feel like.
It is, and I was thinking the same thing when I was hearing an explanation of it, that, apparently Bally doesn't consider the Padres enough of a profitable team to be able to justify paying. I forgot how much, but I found that kind of interesting.
Yeah, that is odd. This is a good one. Just a random comment here as we go through some stuff. Where is it? Oh, Julio Rodriguez for MVP. Dark horse candidate.
Oh, dark horse. Shoot. I mean, he top 5 candidate, honestly. Like, he's going to be a damn. I think last year he put up like a 5 or a 6 WAR in his first season. He's the cornerstone of that team. No, man, it's not out of the realm. He could legit win the MVP.
Yeah, I think so too. Dude, what did he put up last year? Let's see. Last year, put up 284 average, over a 500 slugging, 853 OPS. He's a great fielder. He won Rookie of the Year. He was 7th in MVP voting last year.
Yeah.
And he was an All-Star and won a Silver Slugger as a rookie at 21 years old. Yeah, he's a top 5 candidate. He's definitely a top 5 candidate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's even dark horse.
No, it's in the open for sure.
This is true. It is hard to get in the AL MVP race with Judge, Trout, and Ohtani. That is very fair.
True. I think Judge is going to have a decrease in numbers, so it's going to be similar to Ohtani last year, where it's like, well, shoot, Ohtani's still doing these crazy things. Why is he not going to win the MVP? And it's going to be, well, Judge still hit 45 home runs. Why is he not going to get the MVP? Well, because the year before he hit 60 something and broke some record and put up like a crazy WAR. They're not going to give it to him again because it's not the season he had before. It's not going to be as exciting. It's just like Shohei. It's like, it's not as exciting for Shohei because we've already seen him do what he did and win the MVP. However, for Trout and Otani, yes, I completely agree. It will be hard to win the MVP in that over there with those guys. But Judge, I don't think he will overshadow Rodriguez if he's able to put up better numbers.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a chance. And also I think playing center field helps.
Yeah,
Being on a team
and
that's good
on a
helps.
team, yeah, on a team that's exciting.
Yeah. And a team people generally like.
Yeah,
It'll be cool to see how that goes. I do like that one. Yeah, I also saw a couple questions. I saw someone ask about the Javon Hargrave signing. It's pretty sick for the Niners. I mean, you got your D line was probably your weakest, or maybe took your biggest step back from a couple years prior for the Niners, and this year they're gonna add Javon Hargrave. That's huge. Like he's a really good D tackle, and that's gonna make that defensive line and that defense that was the best in the league last year that much better. So I love that signing. Also, Isaac, see Eckler's gonna get traded.
yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I don't.
Go after Bijan?
Yeah, that was the first thing that came to mind is that Bijan will, we're gonna try and make Bijan a Charger. I don't mind it, man. I mean, Eckler. I was listening to Ben and Woods. They brought up a very good point. Eckler, if they were in San Diego, man, Qualcomm would have been rocking with Eckler jerseys, but in LA, he's just kind of a nobody. And that's interesting. But as far as the actual trade and what I think, Austin Eckler's done everything. He deserves a bag. He deserves his money. And I understand why the Chargers don't want to give it to him. It's better being a year early than a year late.
No, I think it's probably good too. If he's about to get broken off, like he doesn't really stay healthy and he's not on the field enough, and you can't really run out games with him as we saw against the Jaguars.
Yeah, he's not that kind of guy, man. That's the thing is we can't be in a playoff game and ask you, to run off the game, run out the clock, and you average two yards a carry. That can't happen.
And I think the thing with Eckler is like he's so good for like fantasy that people just think he's so good.
Stud, yeah.
But it's that's not how actually impactful he is on the field. Like it's a little bit different. Like he just racks up catches, bro. Like he gets so many catches.
That's exactly you're 100% right. Fantasy's kind of clouded the perspective of what a good player is. A lot of touchdowns, yes, of course, but in terms of what I think has kind of been hindering the Chargers, it's that ability to be able to run out the clock in the end. And that's why Eckler was such a perfect complement with Melvin Gordon when Melvin Gordon was good. That 1 or 2 years is because Melvin Gordon was a grinder. He was able to grind out the clock, but Eckler was
besides Melvin Gordon always putting the ball on the ground.
Oh.
In like the worst possible. Do you remember that one time when he fumbled at the 1 yard line, like to end the game? Oh,
man, dude, you should have. Me and my dad just stared at the TV like, what the fuck just happened?
Dude, that was so bad. Mexico's win. Okay, I'm gonna turn this on. Okay, last thing. Actually, 2 more things, and then we'll bounce. Okay, TV stuff. People are talking about it not breaking up the broadcast team. I don't think that's gonna happen. I think that they're like locked in the deals almost like with the Padres more than like with the network. I feel like
wherever they go.
Yeah. Also, maybe it's kind of a good thing because maybe the Padres deal will just get like increased. Like they'll just you know what I mean? Like they'll just get paid more on it. I don't know how I have no idea how it works, but hopefully that's the case.
I hope.
I don't know.
I hope someone gets exclusively the rights to the Padres.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what that looks like.
Yeah.
Get Channel 4 San Diego.
Get them back.
Yeah. All right, and then last thing, Spanos. The Spanos regret moving the team to LA. I mean, he's gonna lose the team soon. So
yeah,
but he's gonna lose the team if he kept it in San Diego. So it's just kind of like he just moved them, and then he's still gonna lose the team. So I don't know. I don't think he really cares. Sadly, for all San Diego fans.
I think no, for sure not. I think it's kind of crazy though, because like this was supposed to be the year that everyone generates interest in the Chargers. It didn't end up being that, and with that, I feel like I still like the Chargers. I'm still a fan. I still have that nostalgia and everything towards the Chargers. So I'm going to remain a fan, but it's not the same, man. It's like when they score a touchdown, it's crickets. It's like I don't have much of a fan base to be able to connect with, and that's no fun. Like, and I feel like the Chargers have. I'm sorry, but they're such a bad fan base. Like in terms of what they think is best for the team. Like, I hated when I saw people saying, "Go get Sean Payton," because, dude, look at what the Chargers have done throughout all your life. Like, look, and really tell me to my face that they will make a run at Sean Payton. Really, like, what have they done to show that they will make a run at Sean Payton or any superstar? I feel nothing when they lose, bro. When they lost that playoff game, I was mad for like a few minutes, and I was like, I don't know why I didn't expect it. Like, it's funny. I told my friends in the group chat started talking shit, and I was like, dude, are you serious? Like, I've seen the Chargers blow a 28-0 lead in just the fourth quarter. A 27-0 lead at the second half will be the least surprising thing. So, it's I've become numb, but yeah, man, the Chargers really are bad, really bad franchise, and it's hard to root for them as a franchise, but I love the players, so I don't.
He didn't. He didn't.
No, he didn't. He didn't.
The reason he went to go to the Broncos is because they're actually going to pay him.
Yes,
Chargers aren't going to pay him.
Nope.
That's the problem.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I love the players on the Chargers, so I can't stop being a fan. But man, that ownership and Mr. Tom Telesco, if it weren't for the players, I would 100% not be a Charger fan right now.
Dude, I don't know why people think Tom Telesco is good.
Literally done nothing to show he's good. Nothing.
Like, he's done a couple obvious things where it's like, Derwin, how is Derwin here? This is perfect. And it's like falls into your lap. And it's like, okay, what about the mid talent? Like, what about picking coaches? Like, you've been in charge of picking coaches. And I guess that also falls on Spanos too, but it's like, you still haven't done a good job.
How about everyone talks about, oh, Rashawn Slater, dude. Well, he was the last guy on the big board for the Chargers. Oh, Joey Bosa.
Wait, was he really?
He was the last guy that was like, oh, the Chargers.
That they wanted in that spot?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, 100%.
Like, oh, whatever.
Joey Bosa. Well, Joey Bosa's good. Jalen Ramsey went 2 picks later. And I don't care about that. Whatever.
Yeah.
Derwin, who the fuck out? Who else were you gonna pick? Melvin Gordon. He wasn't that good, but you also needed a running back. Justin Herbert. They were gonna pick Tua if Tua was there. If they had the 5th pick, they were going Tua. He said it. Tom Telesco basically said it. The only thing that I will say Tom Telesco's really done that was good is Keenan Allen in the 3rd and Austin Eckler as an undrafted free agent. Other than that, what's positive to say?
Yeah, I mean, like, Mike Williams has been a solid player sometimes, but he's not really worth where he got taken when you compare him to other receivers, where other good receivers have got taken. So it's just, I don't know, man.
No, he's done nothing to warrant him having not been fired already. A year.
He's been there for a long time too.
Very long time, since San Diego.
Hot take: Red Sox make playoffs? I don't think so.
That is scorching hot, my friend.
I don't think that's happening.
No,
they're not very good. No. Yeah, that's a scorching hot one. You're gonna need Chris Sale to go to have a complete bounce back.
Yeah. For Justin, I like Michael Davis, man. I like Michael Davis. Solid player. Good year last year. Sucked before, but good player last year.
Yeah. All right, guys. I think it's going to do it. We'll be back tomorrow, 5:30 Pacific time, 5:30 or 6. I forget which one. But we'll be talking to all the Padres prospects, breaking them down, getting some good insight on them, because honestly, we don't know these back-end guys that well, because the whole farm got moved basically last trade deadline. So it'll be fun to kind of break down these guys, go over all the high-end talent that is actually in the farm, but they're just teenagers. So it'll be fun. But all right, guys, have a great night, and we'll talk to y'all tomorrow.